It's no use. Give up.
I was scrolling through a Noble Knight group on Facebook, and so this guy claims to have topped a Mexican Nationals with Mystic Mine Noble Knights, which is what you're looking at right now.
I just got top with Noble Knights in the Nationals of Mexico. Honestly, I did way better than I thought I would. I got top 64, something like that. I know it's not much, but with a deck like this that can't even top locals, this is way better than I thought.
Start off with triple MEDRAUT. MEDRAUT is your best opener. If you get him and a Noble Arms, then you can probably get a full board by the end of the turn. Just opening MEDRAUT and maybe opening a Custonin as well. But going from MEDRAUT into Yvonne or into a Boars, and then then equipping the Noble Arm onto the next Noble Knight is just really helpful. And it's good ratios that he puts here. So he's not playing PELLINORE, which is a card that I like to play just because it just has, generic destruction, just like destroy a Noble Arms equipped to it, destroy one of your opponent's monsters, and then draw a card. I think it's a good card. So yeah, Triple Brothers is really good for recycling your Noble Arms and your Noble Knights. He's not even once per turn. Like, he's not a hard once per turn. So if you can bring multiple Noble Knight Brothers out in one turn, or if Brothers leaves the field and then he comes back, you can use his effect again. So it's like he's really good at like recycling your Noble Arms.
This deck is not a 4 negate, 3 negate deck. It's just not even a single interruption deck. Just put as many bodies as you can, try to block as many attacks, try to float, make your opponent spend resources, do the same next turn, while you get the pluses out of the kings.
Custonin, I talked about him earlier. He's pretty much, when you control a Noble Arms spell card, you can special summon him from your hand, or a Noble Knight equipped with Noble Arms, you can special summon him from your hand, and when he's used for the Exceed, Link, or Synchro Summon of a Noble Knight monster, then you get an extra normal summon of Noble Knight monsters, but you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Noble Knight monsters for the rest of the turn. Now, if you look at his extra deck, 12 of the 15 cards in his extra deck are Noble Knight monsters, so it's not even that big of a deal.
Some people don't like it at 3. I think it's perfect, because most of the time you'll get ashed at some point, or Effect Veil, or whatever, and this is your only real extender of the deck. So
next we have 2 Noble Knight Yvonne. Pretty much when he is equipped with a Noble Arms, then he gets to special summon a Noble Knight token. It doesn't matter the stats, because you're going to use that token for Link Summon anyway. While he's equipped with a Noble Arms, then all other Noble Knight monsters he controls gain 500 attack. Like, it just makes your other Noble Knights a little more dangerous than they normally are.
And this guy is the main reason the deck cannot negate.
And Noble Knight Boars, a classic Noble Knight.
I wanted to keep this deck as consistent as possible. As you can tell, I try to play as many openers as I can. So MEDRAUT and Equip is just an opener. Brothers and More Knights is an opener. This guy at multiples is an opener by itself. You can normal one, special the other, and then extra normal the other. So no way you can break that. Then this guy, same concept, just an arm. And this guy, even if you don't have anything else, you can just push for your pluses and go straight to the grind game.
So double Effect Veiler, double Ash Blossom, negates are good, hand traps are good. I have been playtesting Noble Knights for a while now, and I found that these ratios are pretty cool.
Yeah, you might be wondering, how the hell do you stop your opponent and all that stuff? Well, the reason, and the real reason why I don't stop it is because I don't want to. I just want my opponent to play and try to spend as many resources as they can. So yeah, if I see a hand trap, that's great, but If I don't, I'll just try to grind it out. Most of the time I win anyway. I'm not really sure if you should run this, to be honest. You could just add whatever you want, but yeah, for the sake of having it, it was kind of good, just baiting some Call by the Graves and stuff, but yeah, you can cut it, to be honest.
So one Twin Twister's in the main. He actually has 2 Twin Twisters in the side deck, which I think is a good idea. This deck doesn't want to have too many cards outside of the archetype, maybe other than hand traps, because a lot of the cards in this deck you kind of need to like hard draw into some of this stuff to keep the deck going. But one reinforcement of the army, triple Heritage of Chalice. I'm playing 3 of them, so you are going to see it at least once per duel, and you are probably going to use its recycle effect once. So even if your opponent tries to banish it or get rid of it or like negates it, you can still have access to it, you know, which I think is just a good thing for Noble Knights in like the grind game.
By the way, the effect of grabbing whatever from your graveyard is pretty relevant, so keep that in mind.
So now we're looking at the Noble Arms, and he plays 1 of each. Now me, I'm an old school Noble Knight player back when we didn't have all these good searching cards for Noble Arms. So I'm so used to playing at least 2 copies of 1 Noble Arms card because you just want to see them more often.
This deck is inconsistent as it is, so my mentality was just go for the consistency and try to play 10 rounds without bricking. If you don't brick, somehow you might win. It doesn't matter. I won like my 7th round against a Sky Striker in like 30 turns, something like that, something ridiculous, and I still won. So this is the reason why I just don't want to brick. And if I need something else, well, too bad. I'll just try to get them back there or add them with this.
Double Call by the Grave, and then this to me was the most interesting part of the deck list, which is the triple pot of Extravagance. He said, this man was like, okay, I'm just gonna max out on every Noble Knight extra deck monster except for the Synchro, right? And I'm just gonna play triple Extravagance, and if something happens to, like, there's no way I'm gonna banish 3 copies of 1 Noble Knight, right? So he's kind of relying on a luck-based factor here. And from personal experience, I can tell you, you don't need, at most, you need maybe 1 copy of each Noble Knight. It's because you have cards like Noble Knight Brothers that can send them from the graveyard back into the deck that you don't really care, you know, like if they get destroyed, because you can either send them back or you have another copy if they don't get banished. So it's just I honestly think it's a good idea, because the deck doesn't really play a lot of extra deck monsters, or it doesn't need a lot of extra deck monsters outside of what it already has. ISO'd searches and can special from deck. King, the Sacred King Artorigus can pop monsters, and when it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Noble Knight from the grave. Custonin can send cards your opponent controls back to the hand, and when he leaves the field because of an opponent's card, he can rank himself up into another king. And Artorigus just pops back row. He's really good at popping back row. He's honestly my favorite Noble Knight Exceed, and probably always will be. But these cards ended up having a lot more utility these days in like Link era than they had before, because now with Sacred Noble Knight's second effect, where if he's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Noble Knight from your grave. That's really good for Link summoning. It really is. So once he's out of material, you can just use him for a Link summon, and then now you can even get a monster back for it. Now it has to be a level 4 monster, but you know, you could bring back Brothers, and then Brothers can shuffle him back into the extra deck, and maybe some other Noble Knights or Noble Arm cards, and you could draw a card from that, you know? So it's like, it's a pretty good thing to have.
As I said, Noble Knights are super powerful as there is. People think that they're garbage, but bro, those Exceeds and their Link they're the best Exceeds of any archetype in the game. So yeah, Too good not to play. Remember, guys, too good. You need those pluses, and you're gonna tell me that, yeah, but you can draw with brothers. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So yeah, Pot of Extravagance, that's a card I would never play in a deck that has a lot of essential cards in the extra deck. Luckily, Noble Knights really only need the cards inside of their own archetype to function, so it really isn't a problem here. So next, we do have the spiciest tech of the deck, the Mystic Mine. And so Mystic Mine, I'm sure everybody knows, is that the player who controls more monsters, their monsters' effects are negated, and those monsters cannot attack. Now, this is why he plays the Noble Arms Clarion.
The difference is that if they don't negate this, you have 2 more cards to push. If they don't negate this, you'll slow the game down. Terrible. Like, I won like 3 matches just playing this and just let the clock go and trying to figure out how to destroy my enemy. Then I just set up my whole hand. Most of the time my enemy will try to just get rid of this, so they'll spend resources and I won't, and then I'll just kill them. And I got a few games just by activating this, equipping this to whatever knight, just 1 Noble Knight, paying and attack by 17, then pass, attack 17, pass, attack 17. Pretty basic, but this gives another win condition to your deck. So yeah, I know it's cancer, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Even though you can't activate your monster effects, you still have a way to push for game. So yeah, next are 2 Until the Noble Arms. Is it Arms or Knights? Yeah. Until the Noble Arms are needed once again. And this is a real spicy card, which I like, because what it does is that you activate cards from the top of the deck equal to the number of Noble Arms that you control. So if you've just summoned a king and you set this, so let's say you have 3 Noble Arms. You look at the top 3 cards of your deck and you add one of them to your hand for free. For free, go ahead, take whichever card you want. The only real downside is that your opponent's gonna know what card it is. But if it's like, let's say that you activate a freaking Ash Blossom or a Effect Veiler, or even Ghost Ogre, since he's playing it in the side deck, like, it's a really good tech to have. So it just works. It just works. And in the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a Noble Knight from your deck whose name is different from the Noble Knights that you control and the ones that are in your graveyard. And this is another thing that works well with Noble Knight Brothers, because Brothers can send back your Noble Knights. He can even send back this Noble Arms trap card if you want to. But yeah, so he can send back the Noble Knights, and then you can banish this trap card from the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, and you can special summon it from a Noble Knight from the deck, like a Custenin or a Yvonne, or even Boars. Lastly, he's playing triple evenly matched in the main deck. So if his opponent has a really strong turn 1, then he just enters battle phase, activates evenly, maybe bait out some negates, all this and that, or maybe he baits out his opponent's negates in the main phase 1, and then he goes into battle phase, activates evenly matched. It's just a real good card to have, and playing triple is definitely understandable.
Same concept. If you go second with any of this, you win. This is that. If you activate this and your opponent has 2 monsters and it resolves, that's it. Just go basic combo, MEDRAUT Boars, equip king, attack, 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 win. If you resolve this, then this is like Twin Twister on steroids. So sometimes you'll just use Twin Twister to get rid of 2 back row. Well, why don't get rid of 3 back row, 4 back row, and a monster without spending a resource.
So now we're going into the side deck. He plays double Twin Twisters and 1 MST in the side deck. I'm really curious if he actually needed this MST at all. Double Shared Ride.
Then to Shared Ride for the Sky Striker matchup. But honestly, this deck has great Sky Striker matchup. It's bananas. They can't keep up with this deck. Simple as that. The MVP of the side deck. It's gross against pretty much everything.
Double Ghost Ogre, just a good card, definitely gets Pendulum. Maybe with Magical Citadel of Endemion, it might not be as good as it once was, which is why I've seen a lot of people stop playing it. But it's still a decent card. Like, you can still catch him doing something or activating an effect of something like Draconic Diagram is going to start seeing some play again, like with True Draco. So, you know, it can just be a good card to have. One Prankotrops, which is weird that like he only has one of them, but I guess, you know, it's just a good opener or like a good like mid-game card if you have a clear board, which I noticed he's actually not playing any of the last chapter of the Noble Knight. He's not playing any last chapter of the Noble Knights, which is a good card for like gaining your momentum back in a duel. So I guess he really doesn't mind losing his momentum in a duel. Like, I feel like he's confident in what his deck can do by itself. He doesn't need a lot of cards that kind of revive from the graveyard like Monster Reborn or Last Chapter. So good on him. Double Red Reboot. It's like the hand trap card. Decent, real good card. I guess, I don't know what deck it really hurts, but I guess it can be good against maybe stuff like other Evenlies or Infinite Impermanence. And double Anti-Spell, because once you've activated your Noble Arms, once you can start getting these kings out, like the Sacred Noble Knight of King Atorgus and just the regular Atorgus, then you won't really need to activate your Noble Arms, since they just bring them from the grave and like equip them to them like pretty much for free. So yeah, extra deck: 3 Isol, 3 Sacred Noble Knight, 3 Custinin, 3 Atorgus.
Your win cons, you don't care. I honestly never summon anything else. This was it. This was all I used. Custinin is awesome. A lot of people usually goes Thanos Dragon on your Isol, then you go to this guy, then you bounce that Thanos, and 99% of the time they're gonna negate and destroy. Even if you say that if they negate this, it's going to float. They don't care. They don't mind. They think these guys are garbage, so they don't mind. But it is relevant because this one gets destroyed. This one goes on and still destroys the Thanos. So they just lost everything. It happened a lot, and yeah. So
Abyss Dweller, Nightmare Unicorn, and Borolo Dragon. No.
He's there in case you have an island on both turns and you generate a lot of tokens, but yeah, whatever. It's garbage. This should have been Exeter Knight. Took out Exeter Knight the night before for this. Big mistake. This guy's garbage. And this could be anything. Any gameplay, but didn't use any of this. So
this has been your boy Cernisho here, reporting to you guys just a real interesting build of Noble Knights, and I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you on the next one. Peace.